When I'm dressed in my clerics or my blacks or my uniform, so to speak, everybody knows that I'm a priest, right? And whether it be that I'm with people that I know well or maybe just know a little, or people that I just met, oftentimes people will come up to me then either with questions or complaints or maybe misunderstandings about what the church believes or teaches or stands for. And I feel a responsibility to represent my faith as best as I can, but it's a real challenge to try to distill about 2,000 years of Christian thought into about a 5-minute conversation. But sometimes if the conversation goes long enough, something interesting happens. You see, what started out as maybe just a casual conversation often winds up being much deeper and much more serious than I first thought. And when this happens, I often feel myself not just simply trying to articulate the faith to somebody else, but actually trying to convince them that I really believe what I say that I believe, that my words just really aren't empty, or I'm not just simply giving the standard answers to religious questions. And on more than one occasion, I become aware that something else is also taking place as well. That it's not that I'm just trying to convince the other person that I'm sincere, but I'm also sometimes trying to convince myself that I'm sincere about the very same thing. It was as if I were looking for some kind of evidence that I could give, some kind of proof that would assure the other person, as well as myself, that Jesus is truly my Lord and my God and my Savior and my brother and my friend. And I know that deep down in my heart, that sort of proof could never come just simply from a conversation. Because words are one thing, but a life lived is something else altogether. Now, the early disciples had a monumental task ahead of them, with God's help, of course, because they had an important story to tell, a one in all of history kind of story. And they would now be responsible for telling others about Jesus, that man unlike any other man they've ever known. They would have to tell the others what he said, about retelling them about the parables that he told. They would share his teachings and his healings and his miracles of every kind. And they would tell the greatest story of all, the story that changed everything, that Jesus hadn't just simply been put to death, but that he had risen from the dead, and that he appeared to them, and that death had no power over this man. And that could only mean one thing, that God was intimate with him and at work with him, and that he was God. Yes, these disciples surely had a lot to say. However, Jesus knew that that wouldn't be enough. And I think it's fair to say that he knew that nothing that they could say, no matter how fantastic or inspirational or miraculous, would make one bit of difference if it was all just words. No, Jesus knew that what would ultimately change the minds and hearts of others was how their belief in Jesus changed the way that they lived. And Jesus wanted to make sure that they understood what he desired above all else, what the true sign of their allegiance to him would be. And that was this. This is how you will know that you are my disciples, if you have love for one another. And nothing that they could say would matter if their lives weren't lived in imitation of Jesus, the one who is love. And the same holds true for us today. And sometimes I wonder if I've made any sort of difference in the lives of others. You know, because I know that I say a lot of words. I've preached a lot of homilies. I lead countless prayers. I've taught adults and children. I've written articles. I do pastor notes for the bulletins, you name it. But is anyone any closer to Jesus because of me? Does anyone trust Jesus a little bit more because of me? Is anyone more committed to peace or to justice or a kinder world because of me? Now, I would like to think so, but I really don't know. But if not, if I haven't made an impact, why? Why haven't the fruits been there? Have I been kind enough? Have I been forgiving enough? Have I shown enough patience or compassion or understanding? Have I listened enough? Have I consoled enough? Put simply, have I loved enough? You know, love is not the property of a Christian. It comes from God and flows through all people of goodwill, believers and non-believers alike, because we don't have the corner on that market. But make no mistake about this. We can't claim to be Catholic. We can't claim to be a person of faith. We can't claim to be a disciple of Jesus or a follower of his if we refuse to love, or if we share sparingly, or if we only love people that will love us in return. To be a good disciple means that we need to be a good lover, and there's no other way. However, that does not mean that our words don't matter, because they absolutely do. And so we should never stop telling the story and how that story relates to our story. But it can never stop there. Rather, what we say we believe should shape how we see and think and act. Because to try to live otherwise is simply a lie that we tell ourselves. And Jesus wants so much more for us and from us. The question is, will we be able to give that?